There's a certain silence that follows betrayal, not the kind that screams, but the kind that hums beneath your ribs. It's the sound of realization, the instant your heart catches up to what your mind already knew. You replay every moment, every look, every word that once felt real, only to see how blind you were. She didn't need to break you with anger. All she had to do was stop respecting you. That's the one fracture no man recovers from easily. Because love can survive conflict, even distance. But the moment respect dies, the foundation collapses in silence. You start to see the truth. That forgiveness, in the wrong place, is just self-betrayal disguised as virtue. And that's the one thing you should never forgive. When she kills the respect that once made her love mean something. Section 1. The illusion of love. Every man has a phase where he believes that love can fix everything. He thinks if he loves hard enough, stays patient enough, and proves his loyalty long enough, she'll eventually see his worth. It's a comforting illusion. The belief that love is a fair trade, that the more you give, the more you'll receive. But the truth, love isn't a currency, it's a mirror. It reflects who you are, and sometimes it shows you who the other person never intended to be. In the beginning, everything feels real. She laughs at your jokes, hangs on your words, and makes you feel like the only man in the room. That's not manipulation yet. That's the chemistry phase. It's when two people meet, and their insecurities temporarily align. You feel chosen, needed, understood. But what you don't see is how fragile that version of her actually is. It's a mask built to attract, not to sustain. Then slowly, the illusion thins. You start noticing small withdrawals, less curiosity in her eyes, fewer questions about your day, a growing distance that hides behind excuses. And if you're like most men, you try harder. You think, maybe she's stressed, maybe I'm not doing enough. You begin to chase validation instead of commanding it. You start giving more of yourself to someone offering less and less in return. That's where the illusion reveals its purpose. It's not there to keep you in love. It's there to test your self-respect. Because love built on emotional dependency always leads to quiet desperation. You start negotiating for crumbs of affection, explaining your worth to someone who already stopped listening. This is where most men make their greatest mistake. They confuse forgiveness with strength. They think enduring disrespect is noble, that patience will earn them peace. But forgiveness, when given too early, only teaches the wrong person they can cross you without consequence. True love demands respect first, not attraction, not attention, not comfort. Respect is what holds the weight when passion fades. And once that respect is gone, the illusion of love becomes a trap. A man stuck in it keeps trying to rebuild something that no longer exists, hoping his effort can replace her sincerity. And that's the moment you must wake up, when you realize love without respect isn't love at all. It's a performance. And every second you stay, you become an actor in a play you didn't write. Section 2. The subtle signs of disrespect. Disrespect never starts loud. It begins quietly, with moments so small, you almost convince yourself they don't matter. The tone in her voice when she disagrees. The way she dismisses something you care about. The joke she makes at your expense when friends are around. It doesn't come as a slap, it comes as a smirk. At first, you let it slide. You tell yourself it's not worth starting a fight over. You convince yourself she's just having a bad day, or maybe you're overreacting. But that's the first trap, because the moment you excuse disrespect, you give permission for it to grow. A woman doesn't test you with grand betrayals. She starts with emotional microaggressions, things she can easily explain away if you confront her. You're too sensitive. I was just joking. Don't be so insecure. Each line is crafted to make you question your perception, to make you doubt your instinct. And once you start doubting yourself, she doesn't need to overpower you. You'll silence yourself for her. Disrespect at its core isn't about words. It's about energy. It's when she stops looking at you with admiration and starts looking at you with assessment. When every conversation turns into subtle competition. when every compliment carries an edge of critique. You'll feel it before you see it. That cold undercurrent, that loss of softness. And yet, most men don't leave when this starts, because they still remember who she was in the beginning. The version of her that made them feel seen, valued, desired. They chase that version like a ghost, hoping it'll reappear if they just stay calm, stay kind, stay forgiving. But that version of her doesn't come back because it wasn't built for the long game. It was built for attraction, not respect. Here's the truth most men don't want to hear. A woman only respects what she cannot emotionally control. Once she learns she can bend your boundaries with guilt, she loses something crucial, her instinctual admiration for your strength. And no amount of love, no apology, no therapy session can restore that lost polarity. So when she starts mocking you in subtle ways, interrupting you mid-sentence, questioning your decisions not out of curiosity but dominance, that's not random behavior. That's her subconscious testing your self-worth. And when you fail that test by choosing comfort over confrontation, you teach her something deadly, that you'll trade respect for peace. But peace without respect isn't peace. It's quiet humiliation. And if you keep ignoring those small signs, one day they won't be small anymore. They'll be public, they'll be cruel, and they'll leave you wondering how the woman you loved ended up treating you like a stranger. Section 3. When humiliation becomes a pattern. It starts in private, but it never stays there. The woman who once praised you in front of others now rolls her eyes when you speak. She corrects you mid-sentence. She laughs at your expense. The same softness that once made you feel alive now turns sharp, weaponized in public. And the worst part? You can't even pinpoint when it began. Humiliation doesn't explode, it seeps. It begins with sarcasm disguised as humor. Little digs wrapped in smiles. She'll say something that cuts deep, and when you react, she'll call you dramatic. Relax, I was just kidding. But she wasn't. She was testing how much disrespect you can absorb without breaking. Soon it becomes her rhythm. Every conversation becomes a battlefield where her words are grenades, light enough to pass as banter, but heavy enough to bruise. She doesn't need to yell. Her silence after a joke lands wrong is louder than any scream. You look around the room, realizing everyone heard it, and she's watching your reaction, curious to see if you'll defend your dignity or pretend you didn't notice. Most men choose the latter, because confrontation feels like chaos. Because deep down, you fear losing her more than losing your self-respect. So you smile it off. You change the topic. You laugh with everyone else, thinking it's the mature thing to do. But maturity without boundaries is just weakness in disguise. And the moment you choose silence over self-respect, she sees you differently. You stop being the man she admired and become the man she can mold. It's not that she hates you, it's worse. She pities you. Because the same strength that once drew her in now feels like an illusion. Humiliation, repeated enough times, becomes a pattern. It stops being an accident and becomes her new language of control. Every public jab, every dismissive tone, every harmless joke, they aren't random. They're subconscious reminders that she holds emotional power over you. And each time you let it pass, you teach her that you'll tolerate less and less respect to keep her love. But love without respect is poison. It drains you quietly. It makes you doubt your instincts, question your worth, and redefine masculinity as endurance instead of strength. You start believing that being calm means being passive, that being understanding means accepting humiliation. Here's the reality most men miss. When a woman humiliates you and you do nothing, you don't look peaceful, you look defeated. And defeat, no matter how softly you wear it, kills attraction faster than anger ever could. If you find yourself constantly being made the joke, the punchline, the quiet target of subtle shame, it's not love evolving, it's admiration dying. And if you don't stop it, the relationship doesn't just end, it rots from the inside out. Section 4. The psychology behind her behavior. To understand why a woman humiliates a man, you have to look deeper than the surface. It's not always cruelty. Sometimes it's instinct. A primal test of dominance hidden beneath charm and laughter. She doesn't consciously plan it. It happens when her subconscious starts whispering, "He's slipping." Attraction isn't built on looks or charm alone. It's built on polarity, masculine and feminine energy, constantly pushing and pulling. The moment that polarity fades, something inside her begins to shift. She doesn't feel safe. She doesn't feel led. And instead of admitting her fear, she reacts by destabilizing you, emotionally, verbally, socially. Humiliation becomes her way of saying, "Remind me why I should respect you." It's a stress test, not of your feelings, but of your boundaries. Because a woman will always test a man she no longer feels anchored by. And if you fail those tests, by apologizing too much, by seeking her validation, by avoiding confrontation, she loses the emotional charge that once made her admire you. See, women are naturally drawn to men who can handle tension, who can stay calm in the storm, not because they're numb, but because they're rooted. A man who reacts emotionally to every jab signals insecurity, and insecurity to her instincts feels unsafe. But here's the paradox. The calmer you stay without boundaries, the more she pushes. Because if your calm isn't backed by strength, it looks like fear in disguise. Humiliation, at its core, is a test of polarity. When she mocks you in front of others, she's not always trying to destroy you. She's trying to feel you, to feel the firmness of your presence again. But when you let it slide, you confirm her worst suspicion, that you've lost your edge. Most men misunderstand this dynamic and respond in two extremes. They either explode, shouting, blaming, trying to reclaim dominance through anger, or they withdraw completely, hoping silence will restore peace. Both are wrong. The first proves you're reactive. The second proves you're weak. The real strength lies in neither submission nor rage. It lies in composed assertion, the kind that says, "I see what you're doing, and I'm not playing that game." Humiliation only continues when it's rewarded with fear or attention. Once a woman realizes her words can rattle you, she uses them to test your emotional core. But if you remain calm and firm, not cold, not cruel, just centered, she's forced to recalibrate. Respect often returns in the presence of grounded strength. And if it doesn't, that's your answer. A woman who humiliates you consistently isn't trying to connect. She's trying to dominate. She's revealing that somewhere inside, she stopped seeing you as her equal. At that point, staying becomes self-betrayal. Because a man can forgive a mistake, but he should never forgive a pattern that destroys his self-respect. That's not understanding. That's surrender. Section 5. The man's role in creating the dynamic. It's easy to point the finger outward, to say, "She disrespected me," or "She humiliated me." But the uncomfortable truth is, men often build the very conditions that allow that disrespect to grow. It rarely begins with her contempt. It begins with his complacency. In the beginning, most men show their strength naturally. They have boundaries, direction, purpose. They challenge her. They say no when needed. They prioritize their goals over constant validation. That masculine presence creates tension, the good kind, that makes her respect him. But as time passes, something changes. He starts to soften, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of losing her, fear of conflict, fear of being misunderstood. So he starts compromising more than he should. He tolerates small jabs, overlooks passive aggression, and laughs off disrespect just to keep the peace. What he doesn't realize is that every time he stays silent, he teaches her something, that his peace is built on her approval. And once a woman senses that her approval defines your emotional balance, she stops admiring you. Because deep down, she wants a man who stands even when she's shaking. The decline always begins subtly. A sarcastic comment you let slide. A small decision she overrules. A moment you wanted to speak up but didn't. Each one chips away at the polarity, the masculine structure that gives her something to trust. Over time, your silence turns from patience to weakness in her eyes. Then comes the shift. She starts leading emotionally. She sets the tone, dictates the arguments, and controls when affection happens. You, unknowingly, start orbiting her mood. That's when the humiliation begins. Not as an act of cruelty, but as a signal. She's saying, "You've stopped being the man I can lean on." Men often think they can win back respect through kindness. But kindness without authority breeds contempt. The truth? A woman can love you deeply and still lose respect for you if you stop showing up as the man she fell for, decisive, calm, unshaken. The moment you trade masculine direction for emotional submission, the balance collapses. You start reacting to her instead of leading the relationship. And when you react, she feels nothing but instability. And instability, to a feminine mind, feels unsafe. So she tries to force strength out of you through confrontation, mockery, or testing. It's not her cruelty, it's biology. She's trying to feel the gravity she once trusted. But most men respond by apologizing or withdrawing, deepening the disconnect. The solution isn't dominance, it's leadership. You restore polarity not by overpowering her, but by returning to your core. By speaking truth calmly, setting boundaries firmly, and living with purpose outside the relationship. A man who knows who he is cannot be humiliated, because his identity doesn't depend on how she sees him. It depends on how he sees himself. Section 6, Detachment and Recovery. Betrayal cuts deep because it doesn't just harm your heart, it destabilizes your sense of reality. The woman you trusted, loved, and built a life with suddenly becomes a stranger. The first step toward detachment is acknowledging the shock, the disbelief, and the anger without trying to rationalize or forgive too quickly. This is not weakness, it is an essential part of reclaiming your psychological autonomy. Accept that her actions were never about you as a person. They were about her biology, her choices, and her inability to cope with her own fears and insecurities. By separating her behavior from your self-worth, you begin to reclaim the power that was unknowingly ceded to her decisions. Emotional detachment doesn't mean shutting off your heart. It means creating boundaries that protect your mental and emotional energy. The psychology of control here is simple. Regain control over your environment, your thoughts, and your actions. Recognize the patterns of manipulation or emotional dependency that allowed her betrayals to penetrate so deeply. Journaling, reflecting on the sequence of events, and dissecting your responses without judgment can help you spot these patterns. You begin to understand what drove the attachment. Was it habit, neediness, validation seeking? Once understood, you can consciously undo them. This is the rebirth phase, reconstructing yourself on a foundation that no external actor can destabilize. Next comes reclaiming your identity. Betrayal often leaves a vacuum where self-confidence, purpose, and trust once existed. Rebuilding yourself is a deliberate act. Start small. Reinstate routines, pursue hobbies, or refine skills that were abandoned in the service of the relationship. Physical exercise, meditation, and mental challenges help rewire your brain for resilience, reinforcing that your happiness is not dependent on someone else's validation. Social recalibration is equally critical. Surround yourself with individuals who uplift, challenge, and reinforce your sense of worth. Avoid environments that trigger emotional relapse or invite comparison. The goal is to emerge stronger, not bitter, with an awareness of your value beyond romantic attachment. Understanding the biology behind betrayal is liberating. Dopamine, oxytocin, and other chemical rewards that once bound you to her now waver, causing withdrawal-like symptoms. This is normal. Expect moments of longing, nostalgia, and confusion. But knowing these reactions are physiological allows you to navigate them without surrendering. Detachment requires patience and self-compassion. It is a process, not a sudden switch. celebrate incremental progress. Every day, you prioritize your stability over reactive emotion. Every choice that affirms your autonomy strengthens your psychological immunity against future manipulation. Finally, adopt a forward-facing mindset. Detachment is incomplete without vision for the future. Decide what kind of life you want: purposeful, disciplined, and uncompromising in self-respect. Forgiveness, if it comes, is for your peace, not hers. And remember, this journey is your rebirth. The lessons from betrayal are tools, not burdens. By embracing control, rebuilding your emotional architecture, and nurturing your independence, you transform from a reactive participant in someone else's drama to the architect of your own life. Betrayal becomes the catalyst, not the anchor. The conclusion: you've been through the storm, navigated betrayal, and reclaimed pieces of yourself that were lost in chaos. The lessons are brutal, but they are real. Life doesn't reward those who wait to be rescued. It favors those who rise with clarity, control, and quiet strength. You've seen the truth. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it's survival. Boundaries are not walls, they are the framework that keeps your world intact, unshakable in the face of manipulation or drama. Now take a moment and breathe. Let the tension in your chest dissolve. You are not defined by her choices, her chaos, or her illusions. You are defined by how you respond, how you protect your mind, your heart, and your life. Every action you take now builds the foundation for a future where you are unshakable, respected, and centered. This is the calm power that women instinctively recognize, even if they resist it. And here's your next step. Embrace it fully. Commit to your growth, your discipline, and your autonomy. Let go of what no longer serves you and reclaim your narrative. Every morning is an opportunity to reinforce your strength, to embody calm masculinity, and to attract the life and respect you deserve. If this insight resonates, take it deeper. Subscribe, follow, and step into a journey of psychological mastery, emotional resilience, and unshakable self-mastery. You're not here to chase validation. You're here to become the man who commands his life, quietly, powerfully, and without compromise. Now I want to hear from you. How do you handle situations where calmness seems to trigger chaos around you? Have you experienced this in your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's break it down together.